you ready? From the beauty of the mountains, PMI Ghana welcomes you to Sogakope for the 2021 PMI Conference. Learn, share, network, expand your horizon. Theme: transforming businesses through project management and digitalization. Date is July 29 to 30th, 2021. Be inspired to innovate all in one space. Platinum sponsors: PMI, Nocheski, Hatwa On Point, Bust. Gold sponsor: Afrisons. Silver sponsor: Baroque Ventures Limited. Virtual platform by Moxie. And powered by Eagle Eye Projects and Events.
Very powerful there, yes. Power skills, yes, for the project management economy. Very wonderful. It was actually amazing to hear Thomas speak about something, skills such as interpersonal. You know, it's got to be interpersonal. I really appreciate that. So usually when we've come for something we think is very transforming, and we always look on the outside and look for skills that are not within us. And then I saw something I liked as well, which is empathy. Yes, these are like really soft skills, but the impact on projects, you know, very powerful. Yes. And then, not to mention one thing that makes me very interested, and especially when our next speaker is involved, is judgment. So please, on that note, if you just joined us, this is the 2021 National Project Management Conference. Without an introduction earlier, my name is Dato Abbas, and I'm your moderator for today and tomorrow. To introduce our opening keynote speaker, I would not rush this through. It's very important for us to acknowledge another beautiful but erudite lady who is joining us to speak to us. Yes, erudite, and I mean that by the time I'm through with her profile, you'll understand. Going through two schools I admire very well, yes, because of a long-standing tradition. Wesley Girls and Achimota School for O-levels and A-levels respectively. Oh, if there's some fans here, please give us some applause for that. Oh, yes. For some of us who come from a fans film, we understand that without you, we will not become Ghana, so forgive us. Yes. And then going forward, she has held a lot of leadership positions. If you allow me, I'll run through this quickly. She is, until her appointment as what we know her for today, has been on several boards as well as committees working effectively. And she had been the chair of the editorial committee of Association of Magistrates and Judges, also the chief editor for the development of Judicial Ethics Training Manual, vice chair of the E-Justice Steering and Oversight Committee, and vice chair of the Internship and Clerkship Program for the Judiciary. She is also a faculty member of the Judicial Training Institute and a member of the governing board of the Judicial Training Institute. Also having moved from the High Court to the Court of Appeal, now she is the Justice of the Supreme Court. Please, with a huge round of applause, to speak to us on the subject of digital transformation, a game changer for forward-looking businesses. Her erudition has thrilled us as an author also for articles and even writing some plays as well. Trust me when I say that she's as deep as she comes. Please, with a huge round of applause, humbly welcome Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Torkornoo.
Vice President, PMI Global Engagement. It was a very wonderful experience listening to you. And I'm grateful that you spoke before me. You gave all the answers to my questions. So you may say that you have made a good case and you have won the case. I've given judgment. So I'm wondering if I may sit down. PMI Ghana Board of Directors, PMI Ghana President, distinguished conference speakers, volunteers, members of Project Management Institute, journalists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's an honor and privilege to be invited to join your venerable institute this morning and to be asked to deliver the keynote address, the opening keynote address on the theme, Transforming Businesses Through Project Management and Digitalization. Thank you very much for bringing me to this utterly lovely spot. Years ago, I attended a seminar on digitalization in one of those Edenic places on earth. It was a place called Sogakope in Tanzania. I hope many of you have been there. It is a wildlife game reserve in a valley that is nestled between two mountains, Mount Meru on the west and Mount Kilimanjaro on the east. And the safari that I went to during the conference was the first time I saw giraffes and zebras and rhinoceroses up close and personal. And the experience has remained with me. The loveliness of those days stamped the subject of digitalization so deeply in my heart that I have not ceased to pursue and examine the subject tenaciously since I left Sogakope. This personal experience assures me that the more pleasant an environment in which learning is done, the easier it is to remember the full scope of even seemingly unconnected subjects that were introduced during the experience. So in reviewing this seemingly technical subject of transforming businesses through project management and digitalization, I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with the word, but I think of that word as digitization. And I discovered that you have placed it as digitalization. So I suspect that that's why it's twisting my tongue. So if you don't mind, I'll go back to my version, digitization. That is shorter. In Ghana, we have comfortability instead of simply comfort. I notice that we tend to do those things. And I trust that you will excuse me if I use digitization and leave the la out. So I'd like to express my appreciation for your setting the discussions in this beautiful place. It is my prayer that you will so enjoy these 2 days that all issues that you consider will remain branded in you, enriching the values, skills, and attitudes with which you approach the subject of digitization in a developing country hereafter. Now, listening to your the PMI Vice President for Engagement, I was heartily warmed. I was heartily warmed because all the questions I came here with were addressed. They were addressed. And because they were addressed, as you listen to me, I ask that you hear what I'm saying from the viewpoint of a user, the viewpoint of a stakeholder who has been asking questions, who has been yearning for answers. And in just one presentation, you have told me that you have answers. So this subject has become extremely critical for all of us. Why? And I mean the subject of digitization. Because we have literally extended our homes and our businesses and our relationships, transactions, and even worship into the virtual space. There's hardly a niche of human activity that is not situated within the digital and virtual worlds these days. I'm aware that humanity is even attempting to have parties, to make love, and to smoke cigarettes virtually. I wish we could ask someone in this audience who has tried the latter two to tell us if those activities are effective in the virtual world. Because this attests to the boundlessness of human creativity. We in the judiciary are scrambling to make e-justice available to the rest of you. As a vice chair of the e-justice committee, I can speak to the fact that enjoying the efficiency of e-services, such as sending money from my banking app, paying for the restoration of DSTV services from the comfort of my living room, instead of having to drive to DSTV office, is a very different experience from being part of a project team that makes e-justice available to court users. While being on the receiving side of e-living can be extremely enhancing, effective, and efficient model of getting things done, getting technology to match up with legal rules of procedure as part of filing processes and virtual delivery of court proceedings has been one of the most exasperating experiences that I have known. For instance, in law, let's say you go to a trial court and you get an order of injunction, and the person on the opposite side wants to appeal against that order. Interlocutory appeals, you have only 2 weeks, or is it now 3 weeks? We keep changing rules, but I think it's 2 weeks to file that appeal. After 2 weeks, your time is up, and no court can even consider that appeal because it will be outside of jurisdiction. Now, most Ghanaians like to do things last minute. So you will find lawyers filing the notice of appeal on the 13th day or even sometimes on the 14th day. When you try to use our e-justice platform, sometimes, and in fact, most of the time, there isn't a reflection that you have filed the process until hours later, or sometimes days later. So, we in the appellate court are waiting very much for the cases to come to us when somebody was informed that your appeal was out of time, and that person can show that I clicked my process on, but it was not uploaded and it was not acknowledged. Whereas in the old world, you walked to a window and gave it to the cashier, and the cashier stamped it, and everybody was certain about time. In this electronic environment, there is the question of when did it happen, what happened, etc. So, I'm certain that the exasperation I feel as part of the project team is equally mirrored in citizens who are compelled to access any service online when they are unfamiliar with the territory of downloading software applications, passwords that pass the acceptance of the robotics that manage the app, and ensuring that they have sufficient data on their phones to sustain the simple business of getting their transaction done. So though we may well say with LP Hartley that the past is a foreign country, they do things differently there, unquote. When you watch the extent to which digitization and virtual living on electronic media is transforming the business of living, we must also admit that the process has been slow, inefficient, and largely clumsy for many, especially when you are in charge of the back end of the process. And the reports do not only flow from developing countries. We continue to hear of global bank and Western government systems being hijacked by rogue elements. Just last night, I heard on CNN when I entered my room here about President Biden complaining of interferences with the electoral systems of the USA through electronic media. So it's a strange new world. It's a difficult world. So what slows down the process of smooth transitioning into safe and efficient digitization and virtual living on electronic media? And how can project managers contribute to this task of transforming businesses through digitization? And that's why I was so excited to hear the presentation. Before further examination of the subject, please allow me to give this triple-layered process of digitization, virtual living, and the use of electronic media an acronym DVLM. Since most of us will be familiar with DVLA, I'm sure you remember this. But after studying e-law as part of a master's program in intellectual property and keenly following the subject thereafter, participating vigorously in Ghana's e-justice program since its inception in 2013, and working as a litigation lawyer for 18 years and a judge from trial court to appellate level in the last 17 years, I have 3 observations that I humbly ask to share with you. First, the permanence and fluidity of DVLM. Second, the critical need for active change management to be part of all projects involving DVLM. And that's why I'm excited about the agility, the expressions of agility, empathy, creativity as part of power skills. And third, the uniqueness of the project management profession as a discipline that can assist with achieving the fluid requirements of projects in the DVLM environment. To my mind, the global move to digitization, virtual living, and use of electronic media is not recent. It started when mankind became aware of the need to communicate and conduct business with each other, notwithstanding how far apart they are. So we have moved from telegraphs to telephony over centuries and landed on the internet since the Second World War. Who knows how all of this will evolve, especially with the 3D dimensions we are exposed to these days. Just visiting the theater should tell you this. But when we consider that mankind resolutely moves towards efficiency and effectiveness in communication and the conduct of business, we can only appreciate that the use of technology will only get more intense, and it's never going to relent. At first, artificial intelligence and later augmented reality, machine learning, and robotics that render defunct traditional working systems and lifestyles were considered the stuff of interaction in global corridors. Now they are used for national and even family business. It's not untoward to send text to your husband as he's sitting next to you. And let me share an experience I had with you that woke me up on this. I visited my daughter in school. She was studying in Mount Holyoke University in Massachusetts. And she went to put her things in the laundry room to do her laundry. And I was sitting with her on the bed and she said, "Mommy, my laundry is ready." And I said, "How did you know your laundry is ready?" She said, "Oh, I just looked on the app." The app shows her the different washing machines in the laundry room and which one has finished washing. So when she puts it on in, let's say, laundry, the machine number 4, the app was able to track for her where her laundry had reached. And so sitting on her bed in the room, she was able to tell me that she's going downstairs. This is efficiency. This is utterly efficient. And then, most of you would have, any of you who would have had experience with the courts, I'm sure you hate us like something. You hate us because, this word that has been bastardized, they said adjourn, right? Because of adjournments. Now, many adjournments arise because of the fundamental human right or the natural justice rule that a person must be given notice of any process that is conducted concerning them. Now, when a bailiff goes to serve a process and doesn't find the person, the judge is not even allowed to go on with the process. And that's why processes get adjourned. So that if we are able to serve processes by text or email, that itself can cut litigation from 5 years to 3 months. That is how important technology can be in giving efficiency and effectiveness. And yet, by our very construct, human beings are physical beings. We must move physically, relate physically, and use physical spaces. My view is that it is this inability to escape the solidness of our physical needs that is giving the illusion to users in transition that DVLM is an option and an intrusion. It creates the mental block that frustrates the transition to DVLM for marketplace actors and makes the delivery of e-products and services frustrating for those who offer them and the project teams that put them together. It is a game changer for all users, delivering products and services in real time and ensuring efficiency and effectiveness, as attested to in virtual meetings, conferences, and virtual hearings for us in court services. Indeed, the time and cost of serving a litigant with proceedings can move from years and thousands of Ghana cedis to less than 1 cedi and 1 minute when the service of court processes is done electronically. But we will find that CI 122, or the Constitutional Instrument 122, the legislation that allows this, was passed only in 2019. Why did it take so long? The creation of the infrastructure to ensure the validity and integrity of the process as a legal process is what made it take so long. We needed to have the national digital addresses done first. We needed to ensure that we had resolved what technology would freeze documents, not just PDF, but would freeze documents and authenticate them. Because the right to justice requires that nobody should be able to tamper with your documentation. And so, services in DVLM must necessarily and strategically be layered to be effective. Virtual trials and court proceedings save the trauma and cost of travel and meetings like this that can be followed virtually. They cut travel costs and time. I believe that we all agree that the need for DVLM is unnegotiable. And because of this and the complexity necessary for their implementation, massive opportunities abound for modern project managers to lead the transformation of every form of product delivery and business through DVLM. Unfortunately, the reality reflects not so happy circumstances. I remember Ms. Otima saying that about 80% of such projects fail. I'm informed that in the 2014 edition of the Pulse of the PMI Institute, titled The High Cost of Low Performance, it was reported that organizations lose about 109 million or 10.9% for every $1 billion that is invested in projects due to poor project performance. It has been suggested that in Ghana about 30% is lost, of money is lost in every investment that is made into projects. My own experiences on the e-justice project and the incorporation of M&E software into the work of the judiciary bears testimony to this immense waste. So how can we get over the hurdles in failures in DVLM and ICT projects? I see that the answer lies largely in the appreciation of the required fluidity and flexibility, which you define as agility, when defining the requirements of project management in this sector. In the e-government leadership capacity building manual produced by the Ministry of Communication and National Information Technology Agency in collaboration with GIMPINE, the word project is defined as a temporary endeavor and undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result, quote unquote, or a set of coordinated activities which pursues a specific goal with constraints on time, costs, and resources, quote unquote. Because another of my specializations is construction law, I happen to be familiar with the traditional structure of projects. Projects are defined scope of works delivered within budget and time. And these are the core skills, values, and attitudes that a project manager brings to the table. That's why I'm happy to hear today that you are highlighting empathy, creativity, etc. However, the DVLM discourse must remain as fluid as the way we live in the physical, because the DVLM, or digital virtual living and operating electronic media, is now the environment in which we live. DVLM products and services produce a living environment that must breathe with the dynamism that projects seemed to abhor. I use abhor. After listening to you, I've changed my language. My humble view is that, therefore, is that project managers have to bring to us a new definition of how projects are designed and how DVLM products and services are delivered to businesses and employers, for there to be a match between client needs and the use of the products. I can see that ICT professionals who lead in the creation of hardware and software are keenly aware that they are primarily dealing with the creation of human environments that support tangible activities. And so products are designed for short periods and constantly updated. They are well aware of the marriage between the physical and metaphysical when it comes to software and hardware. It is in the same way that I think that project design for delivery of DVLM products to different sectors of the economy must begin to enable agility, flexibility, and adaptable systems. Indeed, I'm advised that in many jurisdictions, initiatives have been taken to entrench project management in the DNA of government execution machinery. And I refer to the US, the Indian government, UK government, Canadian government, and South Korean governments. Without the fluidity of the natural evolution of humanity being factored into how projects are delivered, the clash between what is ordered and what is needed will continue for most businesses and corporate users of e-services. So we told the World Bank that we the judiciary, we are not ready for the next phase of the e-justice infrastructure. We are not ready because we are still grappling with the first phase. We are still grappling because the project designers were so static and failed to understand how important it is that anything that is done in the justice delivery environment follows after rules. We must necessarily be stuck in rules because that is how you can be assured of justice. And yet, the apps and the platform that we use must be flexible enough for all manner of court users and all manner of e-services. So this is the tango that we are carrying on. And they keep talking to us about project time and project cost overruns. And we keep telling them that there is no money, but fix what you started. Finish what you started and fix it. So without the fluidity, there will continue to be clashes. And yet Ghana cannot continue to lag behind in the delivery of the tangibly exciting environment that somehow only exists in the intangible of the electronic media. There's a psychological, emotional, creative, and change management adaptation that needs to be introduced into the delivery of DVLM products for stakeholders, and the need is urgent. So I invite you now to lead the redesign of e-products and services with the agility, adaptability, and flexibility required in the creation of the non-static environment that e-living occurs. And I have been informed that you've already started. So I'm very glad. Unlike the hard ground environment that projects have traditionally provided for, e-living is mainly psychological and emotional. And whether one is making a payment or watching a movie, the psychological and emotional fluidity required in human interactions must begin to be incorporated into the hardline specifics of project design. And this is a challenge that your venerable profession is the only one that is most suited to help us all with. It is the project management professional who has the skills to translate the vision of the client into scope and budget and put other professionals together to create the delivery team. It will have to be the project management professional who brings the skills to incorporate the fluidity and agility needed in DVLM products and services into traditional project management concepts. The notion that certainty of scope and budget is a necessary value and time and budget overruns are anathema has to be redirected through new theories and practice of project management. We have arrived in a brave new world, and someone must wave the flag ahead of the band of timorous souls that the rest of us are. And someone has to assure us that we can begin to see value for money in this DVLM environment that brings efficiency, effectiveness, and undoubtedly profit. We know that you are more than able to lead the change required, and so we thank you for allowing us to share these thoughts with you. Thank you very much.